In this video, we'll be talking about ASHRAE ventilation calculations and how you can use the MPP Starter project to help you out with that process. So if you're working on a project in a jurisdiction that would like to see the ventilation calculations on the plans, there's many ways you can do it. We've set it up as a schedule in Revit, so it's actually pulling space information. And with that said, it'll be dynamic. So as your spaces update or if areas get swapped around, your schedule will always be up to date. So right now I'm on a schedule sheet right now, which doesn't have any schedules. And this is where we're going to put the ASHRAE ventilation calculations once we're done. So in the MPP, we've included a schedule under M_design. And there's an occupancy category list, which is essentially a key schedule that has all of the ASHRAE spaces. This should actually be 2 units. So we have all the occupancy categories here, and then we have the outdoor airflow rates per person, the airflow rate per area, and then the default occupant density. So these are intelligent units. This is not, since Revit does not have people per square foot. So now I'm going to adjust these units as well, actually. So that'll be fixed for you guys when you guys get to the MPP Starter project. So basically we have a list here, and we're going to use a space schedule, and we're going to use this key schedule to do our ASHRAE ventilation calculations. So before we get to this schedule here, what you need to do is you need to set up your HVAC zones, which we talk about in a previous video in the user manual. So I just opened up this view, and as you can see, we have these zones already set up in this project. This is also the same project that we used as the demo for a starter project setup. So now I'm going to go to our schedule, and let's take a look at it. So the schedule here, of course, is based upon zone. So it's taking zone and it's showing the spaces in that zone for RTU1. This is our key schedule list right here. So this will populate these fields down here, which will end up doing the calculations for us. And then we've got some other things that we can do with filtering and things like that. So now I'm going to go through and I'm just going to choose the ASHRAE spaces that match closest. So you can hit this pull down. And then in this window, you can hit the first letter to get you close to your space type. So we'll make this one a conference meeting room, and we'll do that for these ones as well. Then I believe there's a library category, so we'll choose libraries for the general library space. And now we've got some office space. We'll go down to open office. So again, I'm just hitting the first letter of the name to get close in the list to where it is. Let's use a corridor for this space type. Storage for this one. Trash recycle, I'm going to consider that non-occupiable as defined in ASHRAE. You can look in ASHRAE 62 if you want to find more information about what kind of space that is. Make this a corridor. And then a staff RR, that's a restroom. Let's see. So a restroom or toilets public. So this toilet space isn't included in ASHRAE for ventilation. It's listed under the exhaust. I've included it in the pull down so that I can assign it to my space and show that it's got 0 CFM ventilation required. The kitchen space, that's basically a break room. So we'll choose a break room there. And then now we've got another open office area. A book drop. where books are returned. I'm not going to include that in the calculations. And then we've got an entry here. So maybe we'll put this as lobby. And then a community room, that would be conference meeting room. So as you can see, the only thing it's finding so far is the outdoor airflow rate per person and per area. And the calculations will continue on once we fill in the other fields. So storage room, and then we've got some more restrooms. Janitor closet, so again it's just an exhaust rate that's defined, and another book drop. And then another library area. Okay, so I've got these defined. These spaces up here I didn't include. That's our roof space that we're using to populate the schedules for rooftop equipment. Here's a mechanical electrical room. We could choose a mechanical room space. I'm actually going to choose non-occupiable. Here's our exterior storage. Again, we're not going to be ventilating this space. I'm going to choose non-occupiable. And then librarian. So this was a space that we made for infiltration. So again, I'm not going to show that in this particular schedule. So now at this point, what I would probably do, I guess we got one more space, a data room or telecom. Okay, there we go. So you can we can filter out the spaces that have an occupancy category of none. So if we go to properties here, filter. So we can filter out anything. So if occupancy category, so we want to show the ones that don't equal none. So that gets rid of that space up there. So now we're left with our 4 systems, a transfer fan, and some unit heaters. So the ones that were chosen as non-occupiable, they won't populate this list. Now we just have to fill in the rest of the fields. So we can enter the number of occupants in column E here. If you're unsure of how many people there are in a space, we've included the furniture plan and the HVAC analysis views. So like our 2-person study down here, you can see there's 2 seats, hence it being called a 2-person study. 6-person study, just the same way. So long and short, we've got furniture turned on. So you can use this view as a place to come back to and check for how many seats there are. And again, that's coming from an architectural model, so you might not have that right away. I'll go back to the schedule now, and I'm going to fill some of these in. And now you might not know how many people there's going to be in some of the larger areas. This lobby, we'll just put 1. So we've included an additional column in here for reference from ASHRAE. If you go to formatting, you can unhide that. So it's the default occupant density. We'll show that field. Okay, so I paused there and I added some more information. I added what the units were for ASHRAE's default occupant density. So it's people per 1,000 square feet. So again, if you didn't know how many people were in a space, you could use this and the area to calculate how many people might be in the space. I'm just going to enter a number for the sake of discussion here, but again, you could do the calculation here. ASHRAE says you're supposed to use these numbers if you don't know what your actual occupant design criteria is. So again, you know, that's up to the designer and the engineer to confirm. So I'm gonna finish entering in people here. So the kitchen, there might be 5 people in. This workroom here, there's 3 people that work back there. There's no one there. The entry, there might be 1 person. I should probably bump up the lobby here. Community room, there's actually going to be a lot of people in this room. So I'm going to put 50 here. Storage 0, bathrooms, we're not going to include anyone. 6-person study has 6, the teen area. So again, it's just another library space. I'll call it 6 people. And then there's no one in the telecom room. And this exterior storage, there's going to be 0, and there's no one in the mechanical room. So we're almost there. As you can see, the breathing zone outdoor air calculation is already complete, and that basically is taking number of people times this plus the area times this, and that equals that number. And now we just need to fill in the zone air distribution effectiveness. If you would like to avoid comments and complications, you'll make this 0.8. If you've got a better design that'll allow you to get to 1 or even better than 1 for some different air distribution systems, you can go and fill that in. So I didn't fill in the non-occupiable spaces. You could, it doesn't matter, but it's not going to get a calculated value. So the reason I'm putting in 0.8, and again, you can refer to the table in ASHRAE, basically with ceiling supply and ceiling return, it's the heating design mode that gets a 0.8 in my design in this case. Cooling design would be 1.0, but we're doing the worst case scenario. So there we go. As you can see, now we have our required outdoor air intake. And again, this is based upon single zone systems, our zones being right here, RTU1. If you ever updated your HVAC design, the beauty about this schedule is it'll update as well. Like if we go back to our zones and there's some spaces that change what they're being served by. So if we edit this zone, and maybe this office is going to be included into that, so we assign that space to this zone now. Our schedule, just the same as update. So that was office room 14, and again now it's shifted up here. So our required outdoor air has gone up. So once your schedule is complete, you can go to your sheet and basically drag it on, and now you have ASHRAE ventilation calculations based upon your actual space information. So as your design updates, your schedule will be good to go. Yeah, for many single zone systems, this could actually be your starting point before you even get to load calculation software. Even though a lot of those third-party softwares are doing ventilation calculations just the same, this can be used as a way to error check that and can be used as a starting point for doing initial equipment sizing. So that is the ASHRAE ventilation rate procedure in the MPP starter project.